I grew up in an era where I watched people grew up and expand their careers, and then they became historians. Bob Marley was a rebel, but he was a stand-up guy, so everybody's friends, everybody in his camp knew that he would fight for his team. That Nelson Mandela, exactly the same, stand-up guy, fights for his team. Um, Mark Fish was a stand-up guy, so I had the privilege of then coming in, playing alongside Mark Fish, Shoes Michelle, Dr. Kumalos, and it wasn't easy coming at that time because now you were a young player who was gunning for one of their positions. So some of the older players wasn't really nice to younger players, and because Mark Fish been such a proper, he stood up. He stood up for me. So, and I thought that was really nice of a senior player who stands up for the younger players. So that sort of made me wanted to be sort of like a bit the same. So I've always been one of that. If it's my team members, my team players, nobody will be stepping on our toes. So I would always stand up for everybody for what I think is right. And even if I know that the coach is in the wrong, I would tell him in a proper way, even though they're not gonna like it because these days coaches don't like when players tells them when they're wrong, when they. And I was one who I would put myself in the firing line for my teammates. So I was just stand-up guy, and that's what I said. People always mistaken my confidence for arrogance, and I got labeled as a rebel. But I was, if you ask anybody who played with me, who shared a dressing room with me, teammates, then they would tell you really who Benni McCarthy is, and it's a sort of person that everybody would want to have in his team because he knows what you're going to get out of me. I wear my heart on my sleeve when it comes to it, and that's why the fans appreciate it because they know what they're going to get from me, 100%, and I'm always going to drive. And when things are not going right, the people that's responsible for that, I'm gonna pick them. I'll pick you out because I think it's fair that you can't, because if you play in a team sport where if one is not pulling his weight, then it's got to be pointed out. You can't blame the whole team for it because not everybody's playing bad, and that's the kind of guy I am, and labeled. I think everybody's entitled to their own opinions. You get you get ones that you can please and ones that you can't please. The ones that you can't please, they are ones they are the ones who just want to hear the right things. That their team is the best, their team doesn't have this wrong with them, that team nothing's wrong with their team. So everything has to be camouflage so you satisfy them even though you've got the world of problems in house. But when you broadcasted that everything is hunky dory. So those kind of peoples, and I don't have time for those kind of peoples because I'm 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 true to myself and I'm loyal and I'm honest. So, and if you don't like the honesty, then you shouldn't read, or you shouldn't come to football matches then. You understand? And that's always how I've been. And the ones that accept it is the true fans, the ones who understand football, the ones who knows how it works, that only wants the truth and your best, nothing more. And I think when it's like that, and those are the true football fans, and the majority of kickoff readers are true football fans because, and that's why probably my career's blossomed so much because I've always been, you know, seen as what you see is what you get with Benni McCarthy, and kickoff has always proclaimed it that way, and that's why my career has been pretty peachy. I realized that in pretty early on in my career. I think in 2000, was it? Yeah, 2000. In 2000 at the African Nations Cup, when I was still only young player, but because I've been in the Bafana setup for a bit, so I was like, he's been around for about 4 years now, 3 years in the Bafana, so he's been there a while, but he was still young, and that's when I realized it because there was a conflict within the team, and then obviously then it demanded like the bosses of SAFA, and obviously everybody knows when Dr. Ivan Koza comes to a meeting and hell will break loose. And yeah, and I think and that was also when my teammates saw like the potential that I do have, that I was not just all guns blazing and raring to go, that I speak sense. And for somebody like Dr. Ivan Koza to reason with me and try and calm things within the team, even for me being so young, what I was saying made sense, and then he took me aside, and then when he spoke to me to just bring calmness to the team, and then things will get sorted out. And I think that's when I sort of knew that, okay, yeah, me being stubborn and that, but in a good way, is benefiting the team, because then we ended up getting more than what everybody wanted in the beginning, just because we got them to see our side of it as well. And I think, and then ever since then, I just told myself that I will never change, not for nobody. And if I'm in the right, I'm in the right, and I'm gonna fight until people see that, that I'm not just fighting because I'm stubborn and for the sake of fighting, but because I fight because it is the right thing to fight for. And and that's when I knew that there was something different with me that my teammates didn't have.